Hey everybody, and welcome back to All32. So excited to have you back with us. Sean Conti here as usual. My man Jamal Forrest is here as well. What's up, Jamal?
What's going on, Sean? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty damn good, man. These were some interesting games this past weekend. Definitely kind of a lopsided, though.
Interesting. It was a letdown.
I know.
Man.
We have to talk about that in our predictions for it. But yeah, man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good in general. I had to scrape 2 separate sheets of ice off my car today. One before work and one after work. So I'm freezing cold, and I have a new respect for the Denver Broncos down here. How you doing?
That's crazy. I'm doing all right. You know, the thing is over here, I'm actually surprised. I have to give my mom some credit. This is why. I didn't know how much of a Redskins fan she really was.
Oh yeah?
Like, yeah, when I started writing, I thought she just put my stuff out, you know, just to support me and stuff like that.
To be a mom.
So, yeah, to be a mom. Next thing I know, she be telling me about the stuff that I be writing about. I'm like, hold up.
She's like giving you shit about something you said or something?
I mean, not even that. Like, she's actually just giving me credit for the stuff. Like, she's actually like, I support, I agree, et cetera, and all that type of stuff.
She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, and then to come to find out, sometimes I be coming into the house and I be hearing her listening to our show on YouTube.
Isn't that a trip?
Right. That's the thing that just surprised me. I got to give my mom more credit because I be thinking, man, she just out here supporting me, but little do I know she actually enjoys everything about the Redskins. So
that's right. She cares. She bleeds burgundy and gold, man, like you and me.
Yeah, I underestimated her. I really did. So, I mean, that's just something I learned this week, man. So that's all that is.
That's a funny thing. Right. Fans will always surprise you. Fans are, never take the stereotypical form you would think they do. But hello to Jamal's mom if you're listening, and hello to my mom too. Love you, Mom. Thanks for listening. 2 more views on YouTube.
Love my mamas.
All right, well, let's give them something to talk about because we certainly have enough. Jamal and I have tons of stuff on the agenda tonight, lots of cool stuff, but maybe it makes most sense to start recapping these games we saw this weekend. Like we said, really crazy stuff. So let's lead off with the NFC game. That saw the Falcons dismantling the Green Bay Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, it was bad, as you so eloquently called them last week, the Green Bay Aaron Rodgers. Not a good game. Falcons totally routed them. Ryan, 27 of 38, about 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. 24-0 at halftime. Jamal, what the fuck happened, man?
Like we said earlier.
Where to start,
and even last week, we got to remember, it really was Aaron Rodgers versus the Falcons.
Yeah.
And that's just exactly what it was. Like, he would have had to do it all. And, you know, they went down 24-0 at halftime. And we all know, if we saw the game, they had 2 scoring opportunities inside Atlanta's red zone or inside Atlanta's territory, and 2 turnovers happened.
Right.
So and Aaron Rodgers put him in that position to begin with. So, it was just bad opportunities, well, not bad opportunities, but bad mistakes, like terrible timing. You don't want to have mistakes against an offense like Matt Ryan and Devontae Freeman and Julio Jones. You don't want to have that happen where, Matt Ryan is capable. First off, Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan is capable of picking any defense apart. And they dismantle defense in the Packers. Yeah, exactly, and they did just that. Matt Ryan had a total of over 400 yards. He threw for 390 and he ran for 23.
Sick.
So
sick, nasty.
Yeah, it was bad. He had a total of 5 touchdowns in the game. It was Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones show.
Yeah, I mean, and can we speak a little bit more to that, because I don't know if you noticed this too, but it seemed to me like they were playing like way too much off-man coverage. Like, we had Falcons open over the middle of the field, deep, short. It seemed like they were just, every time a Falcon caught the ball, there wasn't a Packer in sight for like 10 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it can seem that way. I'm not sure specifically what Don Capers' actual game
scheme
plan was to cover Julio. Yeah. So
well, he didn't do it, dude.
You got to think. Yeah, exactly. He didn't do it, but and then again, when you have Sam Shields that's out, for a majority of the season, you have to dictate to the players that you have on the field, and these guys, nobody's going to check Julio Jones man to man. And they did that a couple times. and Julio Jones put them on highlight reels. Matter of fact, he got the ball on a couple of them where he broke opponents off on routes, and he made spectacular catches all game long. These are just things that, when you go against Julio, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have your hands full all game, and he did that from quarter 1 to quarter 4.
Dude, how beautiful was that 73-yard sideline scamper, by the way, where he was shedding two tacklers? That was a beautiful play.
That's a play that defender could get cut on.
Yeah.
You don't want to you get put on the highlight like that in the playoff game. First off, you give up the end route, the breaking end route, and then or the slant, and then he separates from you with his speed, and then stiff arms the safety or whoever it was coming towards him. And it was the meanest stiff arm, a grown man stiff arm that a receiver could give you. So, you do something like that.
Hell yeah.
You might want to just go ahead and coach, because he's probably gonna call you in regardless. I need to speak to you. Bring your playbook. We can't have this.
We got some work to do. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like there were two of those Julio Jones plays that were really backbreaking. They kind of sandwiched halftime, so it was like he had that one backbreaking touchdown pass right before halftime, and then that beautiful long pass right after it. So yeah, I mean, like you said,
and the
Julio Jones show, he put them on blast.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's the reason why the run game and pass game worked so well. First off, they had between the two backs, Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, they only had 25 carries for about just over 70 yards. But
they used them as receivers too.
Yeah, and they used them as receivers. They had a total of 7 catches between each other for over 70 yards as well.
See, there you go.
Yeah, so overall production from the two backs was over 140 total scrimmage yards, yards from scrimmage. Sorry about that. So they were working in both the pass game and the run game, but it's the threat of the run regardless. Like we all know, Atlanta is very balanced. They know how to run the ball with Kyle Shanahan. They're a great running team as well as they are passing. So it was very easy for Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan to work the play action and the bootlegs and stuff like that on Green Bay, because obviously they were so focused on stopping one thing. They did stop the run, but they couldn't stop Julio. And Mohamed Sanu had a good game, and so did Mohamed Sanu and I about to say both the backs. Like I said, they had a total of 70 yards receiving between the two on just 7 catches. So they had a lot of success. It's pretty much they was picking them apart.
Yeah, it just seemed like nothing really went right. All kinds of cool plays too, like that flea flicker from Ryan. Ryan had a nice long scamper. I mean, he's not known to be a mobile quarterback. He had that nice
14-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, that was sick. That was probably one of the longer ones of his career. Probably one of the longer rushing touchdowns of his career, I would imagine.
He doesn't really run it that often.
Right. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, speaking of that offense, this is why Kyle Shanahan may have, coached himself into a head coaching gig, which if I were the Falcons, I might be a little concerned about losing him. But yeah, I mean, he's getting
that San Fran job.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But I mean, that would cause me some concern in Atlanta, because this was the Atlanta offense on full display. This was awesome, and this is what they did also that they couldn't do in years past, which was seal the deal. And what a great moment to do it in the Georgia Dome.
Definitely, and this is another reason why it was the task. And I ain't gonna lie, I came into this game and I said I really was gonna ride the Aaron Rodgers ship, but I also stated last week as well. This is a tough task. This is a tough hill to climb. Like it's no matter how much I didn't want to give up on Aaron Rodgers, we both knew Atlanta was some dogs. Like that's exactly what this was, the perfect year for Atlanta to go up against an Aaron Rodgers team in the championship game.
Yeah.
They was facing a depleted team. Like they were getting injured during this game. Offensive tackle, I forgot his name. I think TJ Lang. I think he maybe broke his ankle or something like that. He had it was a severe injury where he had to get carted off. Jordy Nelson was playing with broken ribs. The defense was already depleted. Not even depleted, but they were on their backups. On their backup. Sam Shields was hurt. So, you had a lot of things going that wasn't right with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers willed them to the championship game.
Yeah.
And he was their leading rusher again. Like this was like what it was before they got on their hot streak.
I actually didn't know that was true. He did have that one good run though. One really good one.
The 28 yarder where he
That's
was.
right.
First off, this man is out here running through arm tackles at DBs and stiff arming people.
That's right.
Like that's how bad he wanted it himself.
That's right.
He wanted it bad, and he was going to get his team to the Super Bowl. I cannot knock Aaron Rodgers. I question his I wouldn't say his abilities, but I thought he started slacking in the middle of the season. Mm-hmm. But after his hot streak and after what he did in the playoffs, I'll never do it again. I won't. Right. I won't apologize because I was right. But I won't ever do it again. I won't ever bring it up because look what he did for his team, a team that he carried by himself. That's what he did.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Fine. I mean, what I would just throw in there, and I know we have to move on to Steelers and Patriots, but what I would throw in there that I would maybe fault him for is, look, let me preface this by saying I agree with you completely. He's a miracle. I'm gonna ride the Aaron Rodgers. Trust me, I believe in Aaron Rodgers. Thought that interception at the end of the second quarter there, picked off by Ricardo Allen, kind of a panicked moment from him. And this is where I think this is how bad he wanted it. Kind of played against him. I thought he kind of played panicked a little bit there. That was a pretty egregious interception. I don't know if there was a miscommunication, but with a half to play and you play some of your best football in the second half of games and you're only down 17, I might not have panicked at that moment. That felt like Kirk Cousins to me.
Well, I mean, for that one, I understand what you're saying because I actually agree that he did at one point because I actually tweeted it out where he felt that rush getting to him. Mm-hmm. He started check down. He started throwing into a check down way a lot quicker than normally where he'd look down the field and buy some time. That rush was getting there. Atlanta played a solid game defensively, but I will say on that interception alone, I really don't blame him. It was 3rd and long. Yeah. Look where he was. So he just dropped back and heaved it. If a play happened, it happened. But the interception, it put Atlanta on their 30. So it was like a punt for Green Bay. He didn't really fear the interception. He just took his shot down there and hoped something happened. Somebody had to make a play if the defender picked it off. So that interception in particular, I don't agree with that. But I do agree with the fact that he was getting rid of the ball way too quickly.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably a more fair way to put it. There's only so much we can really criticize. He is the team, so he had to do what he had to do.
Yeah, he had a hell of a game, but I do agree though that rush did get to him at one point, and it showed.
They were swarming. Yeah, they were swarming. Bodes well for them.
Credit to their defense, man.
Yeah, I mean, if they can put together the same thing, they might have good things in store for them for the Super Bowl. We can certainly talk about that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Later in the game. Later in the episode. Let's talk a little Steelers Patriots, man. So I just would like to lead off and say I'm so glad New England's back, man. I mean, this is a franchise that really needed a victory. They really needed to make it to the big game. I'm just really proud of
they did.
What New England's been able to. Just kidding, everybody. Don't freak out at home. Sorry, New England fans, but I'm totally sick of this. Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does. This is like his extremely boring 9th appearance. Certainly did it. Look, I got to admit, certainly did a good job of showing Pittsburgh they were the real deal after what I feel like was a pretty easy season and a pretty easy walk through the playoffs to this point. But they played well against the Steelers, man. I think you were calling the Steelers to win, right?
Yeah, I did. I thought they had a chance of winning. I saw a lot of. Oh my goodness, it was bad. Yeah. I can't even. First off, the Steelers defense looked like the Packers defense.
Right.
On Sunday night.
That's
so
right.
it was a bad outing, and it was unfortunate for Le'Veon because he was hurt coming into the game, and he tweaked it even more. When he started playing, he had 6 carries for 20 yards, but he was very successful running the ball early on, and then obviously.
He always ends the season hurt. Do you notice that?
And that's the thing that's unfortunate. He really does. It's never Big Ben, Le'Veon, and Antonio Brown on the same field in big games. Obviously, the 2 games before this, obviously they were on the field. But I'm saying this one is very unfortunate because I picked the Steelers to win based off of these 3 players alone.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I'm not making any excuses because obviously Big Ben still had a game to play, Antonio Brown still had a game to play, and so did Big Ben's receivers who had a few drops on the evening.
Yeah,
so
they certainly did, man. Sammy Coates, Kobe Hamilton, they didn't help Big Ben out at all.
Nope, they didn't, and that's what's unfortunate. And the thing is, what makes it worse is that Big Ben, he also had a few key misses himself.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Because in a game where you knew you had to be perfect to beat New England, they weren't perfect.
Right.
New England.
It's a great way to put it.
Will take away your best option, and it helped New England because of the fact that Le'Veon was out. All you have to do is really key in on Antonio Brown, who finished the game with 7 catches for 77 yards. That may be a decent game for, an average receiver, but Antonio Brown, we know how elite. We know he's elite. So you deal with Antonio Brown, you can limit him to 77 yards receiving on the game. It just puts the pressure more on other players to step up, and these guys, they just didn't do it. I credit Jesse James for having a good game, but other than that, you had big drops and big moments.
Yeah.
And it was bad. So bad all around. Defensively, of course.
Yeah, and speaking of defensively, man, I mean, we got to talk about that. That might have been. Well, actually, I'll say this. As opposed to the Falcons-Packers game, which seemed like it was just, the Falcons shot up to the lead and Packers never got close, and it was pretty lopsided. This game felt a little different. This game felt like, I know it was relatively lopsided when the score, at the end of the game, but it seemed more like the Patriots jumped out to a small lead and then just slowly chipped away until you looked at it and it was the third quarter and it was like 27-9 or something. It seemed like it didn't, it wasn't as flashy. It was just yeah, I mean they ran away with it, but it was more consistent, just slowly. Steelers losing chance after chance.
Like you always thought the Steelers had a chance of getting back in it, but every single time New England got the ball, they kept stretching the lead. They kept doing it, and I think the dam broke when Eli Rogers, I think he was the one who fumbled on a possession on a big possession where I think New England just scored. Eli Rogers fumbles and they get the ball right back, and it's just the biggest momentum kill.
Dude.
So it was really just it was unfortunate, and they just kept killing themselves. And Tom Brady and company, they just obviously they capitalized on every single. And
this was one of Brady's better playoff games, by the way. When we're talking about Brady, that's a pretty crazy thing to say. Exactly,
and that's exactly what I was about to say because last week, they played the Texans, and Tom Brady had one of his worst games in the playoffs. So
crazy.
It just shows you how great Tom Brady is because he goes in the AFC Championship game and kills it.
Yep.
The Steelers came into the league with the number one playoff defense in the playoffs, number one. So for him to come out there, first off, the Steelers made a mistake only rushing 3 for a majority of the game. You want to get Brady off his comfort zone, off his his where he's so used to throwing it.
Yeah,
and they just
he
let
didn't
him sit
seem
back
too
in
under
the pocket
pressure
at all. He didn't, and I think he got sacked. It says he got sacked twice, but obviously we know that didn't faze him. He kept firing, 32 for 42, only 10 incompletions on 42 pass attempts for 384 and 3 touchdowns. That's dominance right there.
Yeah, I mean,
he picked that secondary apart.
It's surprising too because we all knew Edelman is going to have good games, but this Chris Hogan guy, 9 passes for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 5 passes for 20 yards or more. I mean, Edelman had 118 of his own, but who's this Hogan dude?
Hey,
where did...
I ain't even gonna lie to you. My boys that's listening, they know about 7-Eleven too. We know him since his days in Miami. Through Hard Knocks. Yeah, man, we've been paying attention to him for a while. The Patriots signed him this offseason, or last offseason, I should say, in a game right after a game where Hogan went off against the Patriots with the Bills.
See.
So that probably opened their eyes themselves, like, oh, hey, he's a dog.
Yeah, maybe we should grab this
Chris
guy.
Hogan been doing this. He hasn't had 9 for 180 all season, but he's been consistent for them just as much as he's been consistent for the other teams that he's played for. He's had the most of it. He's had the most opportunities with the Patriots, but he's just starting to flourish. But previously, he's had sporadic moments where he wasn't always the number 2 guy or the number 1 guy. So you'll just see him flash. But I'm glad that he's in New England balling because I was a fan of him for a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he had great plays, and he was the beneficiary of that trick play, that went to oh, my God, I'm forgetting the Patriots running back's name, Dion.
I think with Deion Lewis.
Deion Lewis, there we go. So ball went to him. He ran up to the line of scrimmage, flicked it back to Brady, who, shot it to Hogan.
Wide
awesome.
open.
It totally caught him off guard. Great play. I don't know. I'm going to be certainly watching this guy from now on, too, because he stepped it up.
It just showed you how unprepared the Steelers defensively was. They were panicking. They bid on everything. They bid on a lot. I shouldn't say everything. They bid on a lot.
Yeah.
And
that was another one where it seemed like Patriots receivers just had a lot of room.
Yep, the safeties, the safeties crashed down. The linebackers, they crashed down playing the run. And when you see the pitch back, they're all running. You see their back towards their back. Brady is looking at their back, is what I meant to say, because they're chasing the receivers that got behind him. So it was 2 people open on that play, and he threw it to Chris Hogan. I can't remember the person that was streaking down the sideline, but he threw it across the towards the far goal post to his right. So. That's who he threw it to, but it was 2 people wide open, and it just shows you how nervous it seemed the Steelers were, and unfortunately for Big Ben, he didn't have Le'Veon to help him out, but
no.
It's
think about that just before that play, just before halftime to that final point. Touchdown called back right at the corner of the end zone, their front corner of the end zone. Steelers had the ball on the New England 1, and New England they have 2 running plays that don't go for anywhere, then an incomplete pass. That was, I feel like, kind of the moment that the game got out of hand. I felt like that was a real momentum breaker there.
Yeah, it was defining because you're at the 1 yard line. All you need is a yard to get in. And the Patriots sniffed it out off rips. They sniffed it out off rips. I think they ran a dive play. They ran a dive play twice, I want to say, and they lost 2 or 3 yards on the second play.
Yep.
And it pushed them back at the 5 when they started at the 1.
Right.
So now you have to throw into the end zone. It's an obvious passing situation where you had an opportunity to, be some type of creative or not. You don't even have to be creative at the 1, but you run a dive where the Patriots know where you're going. All they did was crash the middle.
Right.
They crashed the middle and they got you. They got you twice.
It's not going to cut it in the postseason, man. Not in the championship game.
It's really not going to cut it at all. And I think it's something to say about this team, honestly. I think we're about to get into it next, but Big Ben, he was real emotional.
Yeah.
I want to say after the game, the first thing being, I think today he mentioned, if it wasn't today, I want to say it was Monday, but he mentioned he was weighing retirement, and Steelers Nation in the media, I should say, in Pittsburgh were getting on Antonio Brown. Matter of fact, it was
right.
Local media and it was national media. It was getting on Antonio Brown.
Right.
Because I think the first touchdown that was scored was by D'Angelo Williams. And Antonio Brown was upset that he didn't get the ball.
That's
right. He was
right.
pouting in the end zone when D'Angelo Williams scored. So it was pretty frustrating.
Well,
and it's a lot of controversy going into the offseason. Or drama, I should say, not controversy.
No, exactly. I mean, especially, first of all, thinking about the end of the Roethlisberger era is, I'm not a big Roethlisberger fan, but I appreciate the importance to Pittsburgh fans that he certainly is. That's a major thing going into the offseason, yeah. And then this Antonio Brown stuff, I feel like this most recent complaint about him pouting after not getting the touchdown, this comes on the heels of, this leaked video, that came out of the locker room a couple weeks ago. It's just not good vibes around Antonio Brown here. Yeah, going into the offseason.
It's a perception of somebody being selfish, and their biggest concern and what's being put out there through the media is specifically why would they want to invest? Because Antonio Brown's contract is expiring. Why would they want to invest into a guy who doesn't seem all about Pittsburgh Steelers, but more so about Antonio Brown and himself and marketing himself and stuff like that. So,
do you think that flies? I mean, do you think based off of what you've seen? I don't know if you watched that leaked video. I think you said on the last episode that you had.
I saw that.
Do you think with that and then this, this report of him pouting in the end zone, I don't know if there's any proof of that, but do you think those two things together, I mean, do you see selfishness in this guy, or would that not even be a concern considering his production?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a concern. And the thing is, when it comes to, this type of mentality, you have to, if you're Mike Tomlin and their front office, you have to consider, what type of player do you want on this roster? Is Antonio Brown worth the look at me? He's the look at me type guy? Is he worth keeping on this team, paying reportedly about like $70-something million, sure. $70 million, 70 plus? Is he worth that, knowing the side issues that he'll bring to your roster? He had a deal with Facebook.
I heard about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
It was a 6-figure deal for him to record in locker rooms or in the Steelers locker rooms. So Facebook can get a inside scoop of what goes on after wins. And he told the media after it happened that it was a mistake and it won't happen again and all this stuff. But you had a contract. You signed a contract.
That's right. You knew what you were doing.
That was kept under wraps. Yeah, you knew what you were doing. It wasn't just an accident, and you knew, like, you apologized, but that wasn't your intention. You were only doing it because you were forced to do it. But you knew that was disrespectful to your coach. You knew all these things that could have happened. It was secrecy in the locker room. So back to your overall question, the Steelers have done this before. They've got rid of Santonio Holmes. They've got rid of Mike Wallace as receivers.
Plaxico Burress.
Plaxico Burress. They don't really move. They don't really hold in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You don't really see them. And shoot, Emmanuel Sanders
was
there as well.
That's a good point.
So, they don't really hold in Pittsburgh. They can move on from receivers. They're a receiver factory in the NFL. They always produce
right.
receivers. So, they can really move on from Antonio Brown if they really have to. And Le'Veon is coming up this year with it. His contract's expiring. They're likely going to franchise him. So, they have tough decisions to make.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask you, I think that's an interesting question. Who do you see as more important to this offense, Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown?
Yeah, Le'Veon, no question. Le'Veon, no question. You don't really get a running back of his stature in the NFL nowadays, and he does get hurt at times. He won't. I don't remember the last time he played a full 16-game slate.
Exactly.
This year he was suspended for the first 4 games, but he's played first 3 games. I want to say actually, but he's played I think every game since. But Le'Veon is a guy who could do it all for you. His running style is unique, and it's probably one of the best that we've seen in some time. So Le'Veon is he's way more valuable to the Pittsburgh Steelers than Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown is a elite receiver, but you can have average to good receivers and still be a great offense.
Does that change? Does your mind change if Roethlisberger does retire? Are you more inclined to hold on to Antonio Brown if Big Ben goes away? Yeah. You'll
need him. You'll need him. Because obviously, and we might have to talk about that when we talk about Kirk soon. But
yeah, sure.
When you don't have a quarterback, you want to make sure you have your weapons there that's established. You can get you a quarterback, and go from there. Landry Jones is not going to cut it. He'll never be the Pittsburgh Steelers starter if Big Ben retires. So you'll have to look elsewhere. He can be a backup, but he's not going to be your starter. So definitely you want to make sure you keep your biggest weapons and draft a guy because or try and sign somebody from off the street, free agency.
Right.
But you'll definitely have to keep Antonio and Le'Veon if Big Ben does decide to retire.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like we said, that's so much.
Who do you got, man, about Antonio Le'Veon?
Well, I think that I'm maybe not as – I know you're not being dismissive. That's not the right word. I'm not as lackadaisical about Antonio Brown that I think you are. I think – okay. I mean, look, there's no question about this guy's production over the last couple years. He's been tops of the league. I think he's super important. In fact, I don't know if the Steelers get to where they are in the playoffs right now without some of his play over the last couple weeks.
Okay.
That said,
I don't disagree with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I'll say this. That said, I'm not ranking him above Le'Veon Bell or Ben Roethlisberger in terms of importance to this team. So in terms of my question to you about who's most dispensable, I guess I'd go there. I just big ol' asterisk on that, you know. I think he's really, really important, and I would love to get him, though. I don't know who's going to be able to pay for this guy if he does go somewhere else.
Oh, it'll be some people with money.
Someone will do it for sure. Someone
like
will.
San Fran has the money.
Man,
they don't got the quarterback, but they got the money.
Well, that's another. You know, there's some interesting stuff going on in San Fran too.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, maybe at this point we can pivot here. We're about halfway through the show. We've got some other sweet things on the agenda. We're going to talk about some new coaches. Like you mentioned, we definitely want to talk about Kirk Cousins and the trade rumors and, you know, whether or not Washington's going to re-sign him. You want to start with coaches? We've certainly seen a lot of movement over the last couple of weeks with new hires.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we've got a couple, some confirmed hires. There's also some highly speculated, almost confirmed things that were announced over the last day or two. But let's talk about who we think is the best fit. Which hire strikes us as the, how did you put it earlier, the best chance to succeed next year?
Yeah. The best chance to succeed next year. Well, for me, I have to go with Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
With Anthony Lynn.
Surprised Anthony Lynn didn't stick around in Buffalo, my man.
Yeah, I don't really know much about that situation. He said that it wasn't, because I watched his interview on NFL Network. He didn't say it wasn't a bad fit, you know, in Buffalo, but I guess he saw more opportunity in Los Angeles or something to that extent.
Well, Buffalo's a poorly run franchise, my man. Let's be honest. It is.
Yeah, that too. He was being nice. Obviously, you can't just go on NFL Network and dog Buffalo like that.
Right.
But yeah, I think Los Angeles. I'm gonna say that for a while.
I know it's gonna take a while.
Everybody, yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get used to that. But Los Angeles, I think, is the best one to see now. They have a quarterback in place, and then they have Anthony Lynn, who was, I think, the running backs coach prior to being the interim in Buffalo. And, you know, they know how to run the ball in Buffalo. Anthony Lynn will bring in a style. He has multiple variations to run the ball. He'll try and get the defense running sideline to sideline. With Melvin Gordon, you have a top 10 production at the running back position. You know, he's going to be able to help out Phillip Rivers, who's aging, but he's nowhere near a bad quarterback. He's had a bad year.
Door's not closed on Rivers.
Yeah, the door's not closed on him. He had a bad year last year, for sure. Throwing a lot of interceptions, having turnovers, untimely turnovers. But you have a defense that's also in place as well. The front seven doesn't get a lot of credit that I think it does deserve. Joey Bosa came in and had 10 sacks his rookie year, and I think he missed 2 games as well. You have Gus Bradley coming in to fix that defense up. And they already have pieces in the front seven. They just need some secondary help, specifically the safeties, because the corners are very nice as well. So
that's right.
You know, you have a spot where that defense can drastically improve under Gus Bradley due to the fact that they have a front seven in place. They can bring pressure on any quarterback that they go against. And then you have the offense, who, first off, they have to stay healthy, because that's the thing that kills them year in and year out. They get bit by the injury bug, but I think this year, coming up, they have the best chance to succeed because they have a quarterback in place, obviously, the running back, and then they have a solid defense, I believe.
I don't disagree with all of that. This is one of them that I had marked in my column as a question mark because I feel like this hire could be really good for both parties or it could be really bad. About Anthony Lynn, I think
is a big question mark on Anthony Lynn. Yeah,
exactly, and I think I will say this. I think one of the only reasons Buffalo had any success this year was because of him. I think he is I think he's got skills. I think he's got a good offensive record. But this is the team, the Chargers, that broke Cleveland's 0-14 streak, against Robert Griffin. This is like one of those ones. It's just they're moving to a city that I think, we talked about this in another episode. I don't think the city really wants this team. I think this team is kind of alienating the few fans they have. I know that doesn't really factor in necessarily too much to the coach's product, but it's a lot of bad vibe, man. It's just a bad vibe. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers, who had a very disappointing year this year, do the same. But on the same token, I wouldn't be surprised to see them majorly improve. I'm not necessarily as confident in you in saying that I think they have the best chance, but I could see it happen. You know?
Yeah, that's fair. It'll be tough. I think because you gotta go from San Fran, and this is obviously we all know who everybody who's listening in between us, Sean. This is all before the offseason even takes place. This is just from first glance before any changes are really made to the roster itself.
Yeah, the draft, free agency.
Yeah, all that type of stuff. But just with the people that they have in place already, I just feel like Anthony Lynn is in a good position. He really is, and it's going to be tough with that division. You got Oakland and Kansas City, who's at the top. That division at this point. Denver, who's simply rebuilding on the offensive side.
That's right.
Mainly at the quarterback position. And I say rebuilding because it's going to be hard for, a quarterback to, replace or replicate Peyton Manning's production. You have to get some type of level of competency, and it was very inconsistent at that position, which made their offense struggle a lot. The defense couldn't win the games on their own and still make it to the playoffs like they did last year. 2015. So, it's gonna be tough for the Chargers to make the playoffs, but at the same time, they have the best chance, I think, out of the many vacancies to really succeed next year.
Sure. Now, on the flip point of that, you brought up the Broncos. Now, that's actually who I had penciled in as being a pretty damn good landing spot for a new coach. Now, Vance Joseph, this is the former Dolphins defensive coordinator. I think Washington was looking at him. He's been tapped as the Broncos' new coach. I think this is a fantastic pickup for the Broncos. Look, that quarterback position. Now, didn't Bleacher Report tell us that he was one of the most clutch quarterbacks of 2016? I believe that's what that Bleacher Report article we talked about last week said, right?
Simeon?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was up there. I don't think, was he top 10?
I think he was too.
Oh, no, he was 15 or something like that.
That's still too high.
14, something like that. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, he was up there. According to the way they judge and the way they view their stats and all that type of stuff, but
and I'm being silly because I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think defensively, if they can shore up the middle of the field again, this is a fantastic defense as it has been. I think this is a pretty solid spot to land in if you're a head coach. Plus, on the flip side of like Buffalo and some of these other franchises we've talked about, Broncos is a very well run franchise. John Elway, I think, is one of the most aggressive managers, team presidents that is out there. I think this is a great landing spot for anybody. But there's a couple other good ones too that I would just throw out there. Even though everything I've said, about the Bills, I stand by. I think Sean McDermott going to the Bills is a decent hire. He's known to be kind of a player's coach more so than a system coach. Whereas Rex Ryan, who's the outgoing guy, he's a total system dude. Demands conformity to what he does. I think McDermott's got that opposite reputation, which probably would be good for the Bills in general. Obviously, this is a team that doesn't know how to manage their personnel. You've talked about the Tyrod Taylor situation in the past.
Yeah. That's the only thing that will make me. That's why I look past them is you don't really know what they'll be doing at the quarterback position. So I couldn't.
No, that's fair.
Really put them up there.
That's a fair point. And, I would just throw him out there. Like I said, I wouldn't say this is the best spot, but I think that's a good hire. I'll just throw this out too, man. Jaguars. They've got a new coach.
I had them on my mind.
Now, I'll say this about them. This is going to be the 6th year in a row they're going to be picking in the top 5 in the draft. At some point, that's got to pay off, right, Jamal?
You'd hope so.
You would think, right?
We both hope so. Yeah, it's crazy the amount of times that they've picked up their
major player.
A major player, and it's just never worked out. But things may change this year, and I think it will. The only question that you'll probably have to run into is Blake Bortles really gonna establish himself as a franchise quarterback?
Exactly, and no. Let's just call it now. I really don't. I really doubt it. I think that's the biggest question with that team, and then just kind of overall discipline. But if they can figure that out, man, I think they'd be in a good spot.
I agree, but
that was a really hesitant agree right there.
And this is the thing. This is the thing. When you look at Blake Bortles, I don't want to give up on young quarterbacks so quickly.
Sure.
But the amount of turnovers that he's had in his career is I don't want to exaggerate it, but I don't want to undermine it. Like, it's really it's really a problem. The amount of turnovers that he's had, and that's just something that they'll have to try and fix heading into this season to make him play more, not reserved, but
just play smarter.
Play smarter. Thank you for that one. But play smarter and be more careful with the football. And these are things that I think his accuracy is what really kills him. So I guess maybe his mechanics may be off. I haven't really looked at Blake Bortles as a passer. I just look at him play sometimes, and I see the bad throws, but I know his accuracy has been off. So maybe it's something wrong with his mechanics or something that needs to be fixed. But we'll see, man. It's really all on. And first of all, they need to get a running game as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Chris Ivory's a good running back, but they struggle to run the ball. So at least trying to help Bortles out this offseason. And the defense is good, but get that man a running game.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. But if where it's kind of funny because we're talking about the major things. We're talking about getting a running game, getting a quarterback who can play. It's kind of funny to say, but if they can get those two things going, they've field a good team. They're in a good
defense is solid.
Yeah, it is exactly. I mean, they're in a good position. It's just these key pieces they still haven't fallen into place yet. I'd keep my eye on them. I know that you had mentioned in a previous episode that you had expected more from them this year, and that's not that makes sense. I would expect more from them too, and I think they're going to produce. It's just taking a bit.
Yeah, I think in that division they'll probably have a good chance of getting 8+ wins, maybe 7 to 9, which is good for them. Between 7 and 9 wins. Yeah. I had picked the Chargers simply because when you predict these things, you do have to think outside the box. It may not be your blatant, right in your face. This is the team that'll obviously be better, but the Chargers definitely have pieces in place. But I think the Jaguars also with decent coaching. Doug Marrone didn't really have a very good stint in Buffalo. That's the last time I remember him as a head coach. But he may work out in Jacksonville. So that was my next team. It was San Diego and Jacksonville. But
yeah,
we'll see, man. But I think San Diego definitely has the better opportunity because they have leadership in place on the team. I know that the management may not look great, but they do have leadership on that team. So we'll see how that goes, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally valid point. We will see. I mean, and there's also tons more. I mean, there's still some open jobs in the league and some highly speculated ones too. Maybe we won't comment on those yet. But
hey, you're in Denver. What are the fans saying about the head coach?
Oh, I don't talk to the fans. No, just kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm totally kidding. I don't know. This is a city that believes, man. This is a city that's not easily thrown. I think they saw some stumbles this past season, and they saw the season end in a pretty heartbreaking way. But you know what? I think this is a city that their confidence hasn't been shaken.
Sounds like that has a lot to do with John Elway.
And I think
he's already done.
I mean, this is a legend. Yeah, he's the perfect kind of icon to have in your front office, and he does a good job. I mean, under his tenure, the team has definitely improved. I think people feel positive despite the stumbling blocks this year for Denver. So, I
respect that, man.
We'll see what happens as the offseason chugs along. But, I think they're in a good place. I think they're really well positioned, and I think, they've got good things here on the horizon.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to get the post because I forgot that you lived out there. You
know
more than I do about them guys.
I know, and like I said, new respect for the Denver Broncos and all their players with this weather, man. This sucks. This absolutely sucks, dude. It's freezing cold.
Hey, man, eventually you're gonna have to get used to it.
I know, but not yet, man. Not yet. Not ready.
I don't blame you.
Well, let's start. Let's move from talking about the team in my hometown here to the team in your hometown. Maybe we should talk a little Washington because I understand there's some rumors flying around about old Kirky Cousins, our man Kirk, Captain Kirk, potentially going to the 49ers or the Browns. This is what I've heard. Can you put these rumors to rest, man? What the hell's going on in your neck of the woods?
So basically, Bleacher Report, I think Monday morning came out with a report from Jason Cole stating that the Browns and Niners are likely to have interest in Kirk Cousins if the non-exclusive franchise tag was placed on him. So, the Niners have a top 10 well, shoot, they have the number 2 overall pick. And the Browns have 2 first-round picks. So there's a good reason for them to believe, and they also need quarterbacks. There's a good reason for them to believe that they can trade for Kirk if he's placed on the non-exclusive franchise tag, which allows him to be tradable once being tagged.
Right.
The Browns have Hugh Jackson, who's has some similarities to Jay Gruden's offense already. They work together in Cincinnati. And then you have 49ers, who's going to have Kyle Shanahan in place. Obviously, Kirk knows his offense as well for the 2 years that Kyle was here.
And I forget, is the Kyle Shanahan hire, I know he's still playing through the season here, but is that official pretty much?
Yeah, they I want to say Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, they've both confirmed that the Niners plan on making Kyle Shanahan their
right.
new head coach. Yeah, they're in the process of looking for a general manager at the moment.
Okay.
But they will be offering the job. Kyle has an interview this Friday as well. So they are planning on offering him the job once. I'm pretty sure they'll probably offer it to him during that Friday interview. So it'll be coming soon.
So let's take it from this first. If you're the 49ers, I know you said they need a quarterback, but do you think this is the smartest move for them? I will just say this. I understand their quarterback core is pretty underwhelming. In fact, I know the only one they've got technically inked for next year, I think, is Kaepernick himself. So I know that they have issues there, but they are more than a quarterback away, right? I mean, would you really – and here's the thing, folks, just for context, if they want Kirk Cousins, they're going to pay him like Aaron Rodgers type money. First, they're going to have to give up a ton in the draft just for the rights to do it, and then he's going to be owed serious cash. So I'd ask you, if you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're the 49ers, are you really doing that?
If you're the Niners, if I'm the Niners, I'm not giving up the second overall pick.
Exactly.
It's not doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
It was really counterproductive to everything that you're trying to do as far as team building. The team has a lot of needs, and at the number 2 overall pick, you have a bevy.
You can do whatever you want.
Anything you want, it can be done with the number 2 overall pick. So you don't really want to jump the gun for a quarterback, but at the same time, you do need a quarterback. So you don't necessarily have to trade the number 2 overall pick. You can make a package deal where, if you're the Niners, you can make a package deal where you send the first round pick of next year to Washington, which I doubt that Washington even accepts. They probably won't do that, as well as like a second for this year, or second, third. Yeah, I don't know if they have multiple picks in the second round, but they can offer about 3 picks maybe. But the thing is, likely if the Redskins were to acquire the number 2 overall pick, it will be a package deal. It won't be just Kirk Cousins,
right? Which
is counterproductive to the Redskins, because in order to get that number 2 pick, you're going to have to give up something as well. And it's not just going to be Kirk Cousins, because he's not worth the number 2 overall pick, truth be told. And the Niners know this.
I wonder if a lot of Washington fans would disagree. I mean, I really do.
And that's the thing. Like, on Twitter, they really bought into the fact that it's possible that they can get the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
And it's possible. But the thing is, you have to give up more than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, it's not going to be that clean. So you can do that.
Yeah, it's not going to be that clean. But if you do end up giving the Kirk Cousins to the Niners, you're giving up more than Kirk Cousins. We don't know what that is. You may have to give up another player as well, or you may have to give up a draft pick. You may have to give up 2 draft picks to get that number 2 overall pick. But that number 2 overall pick is expensive, and that's the one thing I say from both sides. But if you're a Redskins fan, listen to this. I don't want to discourage you. I mean, I'm a Skins fan myself, so I don't want to underestimate how desperate the Niners may be for a quarterback. They may believe that if they get Kirk Cousins, they can compete right now.
Yeah.
That's what they may believe as well. So they may be eager to get a trade done too. So you never know. They could also swap. They could also go from the number 2 to the number 17. We switch picks and give them, Kirk Cousins and maybe a third or maybe a fourth or something like that. So you never know how desperate they really are. But in terms of the San Francisco 49ers, they're not giving up the number 2 overall pick for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
let alone 2 draft picks. Yeah. When you talk about Cleveland, though, who has the number 1, the number 1 and the number 12, you can talk business with Cleveland as well, because they have 2 first-round picks. They need a quarterback. and you can probably work your way into that 12 and get Kirk Cousins off your team because likely, obviously, we know he's having issues. He may be having issues signing here in Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm San Francisco or Cleveland. I just don't know if I would gamble at all. I feel like it would be a huge mistake for Cleveland to take another Redskins quarterback when they have so many other needs, man. I just don't know.
They have about 13, 14 draft picks. And that's the thing that benefits them.
Yeah, they have a lot
of that first.
This is true.
They can work with something.
This is true, but now
they're definitely not giving that number 1 overall though.
Right, and I think the other thing is that's going to make all of this harder for the Redskins and for these other teams that might potentially want to pursue Kirk Cousins is that, let's face it, I'm not totally sold on Kirk Cousins in the way that some people talk about him. I think he still has much development to do. I don't think he's necessarily the world beater that his stats say. I think he's highly capable. But, I also understand that we had Jamison Crowder this year and Pierre Garçon this year and Deshaun Jackson this year and Jordan Reed this year and plenty of people that could help him look better. I think this is one of the harder decisions the Redskins have had to make in terms of personnel in the last God, I don't know how many years. This, I think, is
it's decades, honestly.
Yeah, this is the hardest thing. If you're the Redskins, you don't want to give him up because you don't know how critical he really has been in that offense. We know he's given the ball up in some pretty clutch times. We know he's made some pretty damn clutch plays. I mean, it's just hard to say if something gives with that receiver core. Will Cousins go down? Will he be able to maintain this production? It's all coming at a hard moment for us, I feel like. When I say us, I mean Redskins.
Yeah, and the thing is, when it comes to Kirk Cousins and the Redskins organization in themselves, they've never been in a situation like this.
Exactly.
The Redskins, truthfully, they really didn't play it smart last year. We didn't know it at the time. We thought it was fair, to ask him to play under the franchise tag because he has to prove himself again. But if you think about it in hindsight, and that's always dangerous, but if you think about it in hindsight, you go back to last year, what the hell was the purpose of franchising him, hoping that, basically you're hoping with the franchise that he doesn't produce the same way that he produced for you in 2015.
Yeah.
But what he did was he produced the same as he did in 2015. He brought consistency, and he even almost threw for 5,000 yards, which regardless of how many people criticize, it's not about the yards. When it comes to negotiations, somebody throws for 5,000 yards. Only 5 or 6 quarterbacks has ever done it in the NFL.
That's right.
He's almost threw for 5,000 yards. He almost took you to another playoff appearance. He just got a Pro Bowl nod.
I was going to say that's going to help him too in this whole thing, I think.
Yes. So basically, the Redskins screwed themselves. We're talking hindsight, which is not fair, but at the same time, when you're in the business aspect, you're thinking in the business mind, you're always thinking forward. You're not thinking in the moment, you're thinking forward. And the Redskins should have known, well, if he performs like this again, we're going to have to pay him.
Right.
Last year, the reports were the Cousins were asking for $20 million a year, which was around the franchise tag, which he got signed for with $19.9 million. With I think 40 or maybe about 40 guaranteed or 50 guaranteed, something like that. And the Redskins were offering him $16 million. So now you're in a position where the fact that he performed like you asked him to, he's in a position to demand $26 million at least, because what he's going to get on the market is around 24 to 27 million per year, which is about 135 million total in salary. So you're in a situation where you basically didn't really think this through the proper way. Because now we're thinking in hindsight, obviously, once again. But the Redskins, no, they didn't think this way. They didn't think this through. But Scott also said, if he performs, we're willing to overpay. This is what he said. This is on record. This is what he said. But
that's right.
The more you think about it, are you really willing to pay quarterback Kirk Cousins 13 to 15% of your salary? 13 to 15% of your cap, when you have potential needs to fill at the receiver position.
Yep. Running back position.
You have to work on the guard, the running back, and then
safeties.
We haven't even got to the defense.
Yep.
The safeties,
linebackers,
inside linebackers.
We could go through the whole thing.
Line.
It's so true.
Yes. And the truth of the matter, we all know you can sign him and it won't be an issue, but eventually his salary will have an effect on your cap.
That's right.
At some point in his contract year. His contract length, whatever year it is, however they structure it. It may be year 3, it may be year 4, but you're going to be hamstrung at one point. Are you going to commit to a guy like Kirk Cousins, who we know has some developing to do? He still has to do that. Are you willing to commit to him when you know for a fact at some point you're going to be hamstrung?
Right.
Can he keep your boat afloat? Can he do that? And, obviously last game he left a bad impression, but his overall production tells you that he's capable of doing something, but you have to get him the help.
Right.
You have to get him a good defense, and you have to build around him. Can you do that?
See, man, and I'll just say I feel like the team friendliest thing to do would be to try to get something out of him, because I don't know that he's ever going to be a $25 million a year quarterback or more. I just don't know. I'm speaking personally from my own opinion. But I am just super hesitant to commit to him in that way. But I'm also,
I understand.
In the same breath, I'm also, like we're saying, super hesitant to let him go too. Because I certainly don't want to see some rookie, take snaps next year or whatever, some cast off, and the whole thing falls apart. I don't know. I'm very glad I'm not the person making this decision, but I'll watch with bated breath to see what kind of crazy offers he gets.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It'll be a very interesting. I think the franchise deadline is sometime late February, I believe.
Yeah, it sounds
I'm not
right.
sure. Or yeah, all right, so yeah, late February. So it'll be a good month coming up. So to figure out what's really going on, there's, as we were talking, Bruce Allen, the GM, stated that Kirk Cousins is our quarterback. That was a quote that he said at the Senior Bowl.
All right, Bruce.
Obviously they're coming out to defeat the the rumors, or the Bleacher Report rumors, that he'll be open for trade offers and stuff like that. But truth of the matter, that's all part of the game that they're doing. Everybody's playing a game right now, getting in front of the media, saying these type of things. So it's really all about action. The first offer that the Redskins give Kirk Cousins will tell a lot to Kirk Cousins about how he's really wanted here. If they're
viewed by this franchise,
if they're willing to play ball. Yeah, if that offer is disrespectful, shoot. If I'm Kirk, tag me, bro.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Not playing. Tag me. Just tag me, man. Because I'm not about to play game. I'm not about to play ball with y'all no more. I was willing to listen, and you guys came up short again. The same type of disrespectful deal, which I doubt they'll do. I don't think they'll be as disrespectful as they were last year. But
let's hope not.
When it comes to Kirk Cousins, it's a very unique situation.
Yeah.
But if you can't get a deal this year, you gotta tag him and look for ways to ship him, because you don't want him to go for free next year.
Exactly. Well, it certainly will be interesting to watch that situation, because there should be movement on it soon. This is something that's spilled over from years past with this team, so they need to freaking figure this out. This is still like the last vestiges of 2012 that are reaching out from the past. We've got to just get this done. So we'll see.
Yeah, basically, and we'll for the hostile listeners, I'm actually writing a piece on this, so we'll have something on this in words and writing and explain and thoughts on what the Redskins need to do. So be on the lookout for that. If not tomorrow, maybe Thursday morning. But we'll definitely have a piece on this. Take a look at that when you get a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. Well, God, we had so much jam-packed in the agenda. We know we wanted to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. Maybe we should save that till next week, since we do have a gap here before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we've been going for a while, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could save the preview. We could save the preview for the entire show next week.
Yeah.
Or for a good portion of it.
Yeah, exactly. And
we got a Pro Bowl to talk about.
Had something in my throat there. Well, if you want, we can talk for just a couple minutes. It's kind of an easy, lighter story to talk about to finish up here. We won't waste too much of people's times. But did you see this Adam Pac-Man Jones video that came out on TMZ by any chance?
Oh no, you gotta get me hip to it, bro. I know you told me off. You told me before the show started, but I want to hear it again.
Yes.
See how drunk that fool was.
Exactly. So this is not something I'm making a big deal out of, and I almost feel bad talking about it at all because it's one of those things that gets a lot of attention kind of for no reason. But basically, Pac-Man Jones chilling at a casino. Kind of things. He got a little rowdy. Was asked to leave. Apparently, got kind of into an altercation there, and then in a separate altercation with someone who had tried to film the first one. Anyway, all of that. He got kicked out of the casino. He ended up in a Hyatt hotel where he continued to act disorderly. At which point the police came. At which point he was arrested, taken to jail for disorderly conduct, basically. Now, the sad part about all of this, Jamal, is that all we know of this is that TMZ, that dirty, shitty organization that it is, got their hands on this, police tape from the back of the cop car and put it out, blasted it out on the internet.
They put that man on blast.
Exactly, and we don't we didn't get to see anything that led up to this. I will say this, he's totally being a douchebag in the back of this cop car. He's calling them names, and he's saying, like, I hope you die, and he's saying words that, people probably wouldn't appreciate me saying. So I get that he's being a douchebag, but I gotta say, man, and it happens with athletes all the time, I feel like. Some shit gets posted online. Some shit gets sold to TMZ, and it's like...
About to say, TMZ ruins careers. They really do.
It ruins lives, man, and I'm not necessarily defending everyone that gets exposed on TMZ, but I am saying it's just really unfortunate when you see a guy like this, and it's, some drunken video in the back of a cop car, which, by the way, it seems like the cops are being douchebags, too, What a surprise, right? Cops, douchebag? No way. I just think it's a sad thing because it really can derail people. And this, I don't care how much you yell at cops. You're allowed to yell at cops. There's no specific law saying you're not allowed to. I know that there's disorderly conduct and that kind of thing, but it's just sad that it comes out online and people, cast judgments on this guy. If I was ever arrested, and I was wasted and I was acting like an idiot, I'm glad that I have the anonymity of not being famous, so no one cares what I do. But it would just be a shame, if someone got some video like that and ruined my career, my life with it,
Right. And the thing is, I definitely agree with this whole thing. And truth be told, TMZ has a job. This is what they're trying to do. This is what their goal is to release these celebrity news. But
right.
The issue that I have, just not with TMZ in particular, but it's just in general, these type of outlets, they don't have any regard for the person that they're exposing.
Right.
They want to be the person to break the news, but they don't care what happens to the person in itself. Like there should be some type of, and like I said, the things that I've heard he said, I can't really say, I can't defend that, but the things that they've done in the past in exposing people, it's ruined opportunities and second chances for people, and I don't condone, I just don't condone the things that Ray Rice did, but because of that single video in itself, he's never gotten an opportunity in NFL.
That's right.
After that.
That's right.
And he's made up for it like tenfold. He's done everything in the book that you can expect anybody to do. He's apologized. Him and his wife are, they're on the right path. He's went to, meetings and taught against domestic violence. He's done everything by the book, and he still can't get a job. But, other people in the NFL who's done far worse than him has been able to get second chances as well. Like, these things that TMZ has done is very dangerous. And the fact that it's on video is what makes it the lasting impact.
Right.
Because they were able to see what was done instead of just hear about it. Like,
That's right.
We've heard what Greg Hardy's done. We've seen, the pictures, but if there was a video, nobody, like, he'd be under the jail right now because of, perception. So I do understand what you're saying. I don't want to make this all about TMZ, but at the same time, it is very dangerous. And
I agree.
Adam and Pac-Man, I ain't got no problems with him as far as a player. I love his competitiveness.
Oh yeah.
He went after Terrell Pryor after their second matchup. where the interviewers were the media people were interviewing him, and he was talking to the trash can right next to him, calling the trash can Terrell Pryor, calling him garbage. So
you gotta love that.
He's a funny dude. Yeah, he's a funny dude. So I would have loved to see the video just to see. I understand he was drunk, but I would have loved to just see the video just so I could get the tone of the situation. Like the way TMZ made it sound like in the quotes. I did read the quotes, I just didn't see the video.
Yeah.
It does sound bad. It really does.
It's not great, but again, there's no law against calling a cop a douchebag.
Was an angry tone behind it?
It's what's that?
Was it an angry tone behind, the way he was talking?
It was. It was very aggressive. It was angry. He's saying,
okay.
fuck you, and you're like, you're a bitch, and like, he's being totally aggressive about it, but he's also saying, like, what's my charge? What's my charge? And he's just being, like, really forceful about it. Look, I gotta say, this is my final thought on it. I understand he's being a douchebag, but who sold this tape to TMZ? Probably the police.
Who was the leak?
That doesn't seem very ethical to me, can we say? Like, I'm not necessarily, when a video like this ends up in the hand, this is a video that only the police had access to. This is an actual camera in the cop car. So they
probably only had to get to one person, too.
Well, exactly. And I'm just like, I don't have a whole lot of respect or empathy for the police who he's cursing at when this is what happens. This video comes out, which is like, I think this is considered like private, evidence or whatever. I don't think this should be released to the public. So I'm saying I have no empathy for the cops. I know he's being a douchebag, but frankly, I don't see anything in there that I hope that he's not penalized by the team or anyone else in his life for this video, because it shouldn't have come out.
Cincinnati already came out and apologized for it.
See, that's just a sad thing they have to do that, man. I just feel like that's a sad thing they have to do that. It shouldn't have come out, whatever.
I agree with you, man. It's just dangerous. Because these people have careers too. I understand TMZ's doing a job, but they just need to be a little bit smarter. Which, I mean, a lot of people say the same thing we're saying. So
fuck their job.
Yeah, TMZ's not. TMZ, I'm about to say they don't even care about the other people. So why should we care about them? Now that I think about it. So
exactly, man. Someone needs to TMZ. That's what I'm saying.
Basically, somebody needs to get in trouble out there. We got to get some dirt on whoever the CEO is.
That's right. I forget who it is. I knew at one point, but anyways, that's that story.
It still comes on TV.
Yeah, that's that story. Nothing major there, but figured it would be a nice thing to end on. So, like we said earlier, we will certainly get into Super Bowl breakdowns. We're going to be doing a ton of that on thehogsthigh.com in written form, which Jamal mentioned earlier, so make sure you're checking that out. And we will certainly get into Super Bowl stuff next week because we got a nice gap here in Pro Bowl week. Yeah. So, with that, we'll let y'all go. Have a great night and get at us on Twitter at the Hogstie.
Yes, sir. All right, I'll catch y'all.
Peace.